The movie kicks off on a peaceful little island right by the water. Most of the island's residents, they're shrimp, yeah, like actual shrimps. And today, everyone's hyped up and celebrating. Because a monkey named Bopper is about to take on a wild challenge, traveling around the world in 80 days. He's kind of a local celeb now, signing autographs and soaking in the cheers. Basper's clearly feeling pumped for the journey, until his mom shows up. She taps him on the shoulder and is like, "You're not ready yet." Dude forgot to wear his pants. The whole crowd bursts out laughing, and poor Bopper is totally embarrassed. But then, plot twist, it was all just a dream. Bopper wakes up, having fallen out of bed, and the whole pantsless disaster never actually happened. He opens the door to his real mom, who checks on him and his cat. When she spots a picture of their old jungle life in his book, she gets a little emotional. She gently tells him not to get any ideas about adventuring again. They moved to this island so he could live a safe, quiet life with no wild trips or crazy dangers. But Bopper can't help it. He heads out with his adventure book in hand, taking a walk through the island. While he's daydreaming, he bumps into a police officer, Felix, a serious-looking but super sharp lady. She's actually on the lookout for some sneaky shrimp causing trouble. Then, one of the small shrimp tells Felix they're making bets on how fast they can make the monkey, Bopper, cry. That hits Bopper hard. He gets all sad and walks off. Felix gives the shrimp gang and their leader a warning. Stay away from Bopper, or she'll deal with them. But, of course, those tiny troublemakers don't listen. Not long after, they're right back at it, bothering Bopper again while he's trying to read. Just then, out of nowhere, this stylish frog comes surfing in on a wave. And he's got some serious moves, dodging seagulls, pulling tricks, and riding the water like a pro. The shrimp leader bets the seagulls will snatch him midair. But nope, the frog handles it all. That is, until one huge wave knocks him off, and he wipes out. Luckily, Bopper finds him unconscious on a rock. He tries to wake him up, and when he finally does, the frog is like, "Phew, I'm alive." But then he sees his surfboards all scratched up. Not happy, the frog strolls over to the shrimp gang, asking their names. The leader says they don't have names, just shrimp things, I guess. The frog starts making fun of them, and while they're laughing, he swipes their stuff like a smooth, sneaky pro. Nobody even notices, but Felix sees those handcuffs on his wrists and immediately gets suspicious. She walks up and questions him about who he is and what he's doing here. He introduces himself as Phileas, a traveler on a mission to go around the world. That catches Basper's attention fast. He's totally starstruck and follows Phileas around, talking non-stop about how he's been dreaming of going on an adventure too. He's been prepping for years, just waiting for the right time to begin. But Phileas shuts that down and tells him straight up, there's no such thing as the right time, just start. Bopper lights up. He tells Phileas about his favorite explorer, the frog, the guy who traveled around the world in 90 days. But the second Phileas hears that name, his mood changes. He's clearly not a fan and brushes it off. They walk toward the center of the island, and Bopper still believes one's record is unbeatable. Phileas laughs and says, "Peach, I can do it in 80. Now the shrimp leader hears this and immediately jumps in. He places a huge bet. If Phileas can circle the globe in 80 days, he wins a massive prize. The shrimps start collecting money from everyone around. It builds up quick, 10 million bucks. And yeah, technically betting like this is totally illegal, but nobody on this island seems to care. Phileas is confident. To show he's serious, he tells them to hold on to the money until he gets back. If he wins, it's all his. Everyone cheers, including Bopper, who wants to come along as Phileas's assistant. But Phileas is like, "Nah, I fly solo." Still, the shrimp leader insists that Bopper joins him. They even make it a rule. Phileas and Bopper have to send pictures from each place they visit to prove they're actually traveling. Later, Bopper invites Phileas to stay the night. But he makes him promise not to tell his mom anything about the trip, because if she finds out, she'll shut it down. They get home, and guess what? First thing Phileas does is tell her everything. Classic move. She flips out, throws Phileas out and locks Bopper in his room. He's devastated. Later that night, Phileas comes to the window and apologizes. He says he was just trying to protect him. Then he offers him a deal. If Bopper gives him money, he can come along. Basper's face lights up. He grabs his piggy bank, smashes it, and gives everything to Phileas. They agree to meet in the morning for the ferry. But just as things are coming together, boom, An explosion hits the city. Next morning, Officer Felix discovers the bet money was stolen from the bank. She inspects the scene and figures out the thief was some kind of amphibian, probably Phileas. Meanwhile, Phileas is already boarding the ferry, alone. Bopper, spotting him, leaves his mom a note and escapes through the window to join him. He races toward the ferry, trips, rolls, crashes, but somehow makes it. He dives into the water, nearly drowns, but ends up on board, soaking wet and angry. He calls out Phileas for trying to ditch him, but Phileas smooth talks his way out. He says it was just a test, and now he knows Basper's ready. Suddenly, Bopper sees his mom screaming at him from the dock, begging him to come back. At the same time, Felix shows up in a straight-up cannon and blasts herself after them. Yeah, things are getting wild. She crashes into the ferry, yelling that Phileas robbed the bank. Basper's shocked. He tries to stop her and warns Phileas. They run, but Felix catches up and corners them. Just when it seems like it's over, the ferry jolts from a huge wave, throwing Felix around like a rag doll until she lands inside the engine room, right next to two hamsters running the motor. Because she's small too, she just starts running with them. Phileas pulls Bopper aside and swears he didn't rob anyone. Then, the two of them jump into the water to escape. Bopper nearly drowns again, but Phileas saves him and puts him on the surfboard. When Bopper wakes up, he realizes all his stuff is gone. His bag, everything. He's scared and unsure if he can even continue this journey. But Phileas, ever the optimist, calms himself and encourages them to keep moving forward. So they do. On the 18th day of their journey, we see them trekking through a blazing hot desert full of witches, nearly dying from the heat. Just when they stop to drink their last drop of water, it dries up right in front of them. Now they're on the verge of dying from thirst. Luckily, they spot a cactus. They rush over, stick a straw in, and start sipping like it's a 5-star juice bar. But before they can enjoy it, 3 scorpions on motorcycles roll up out of nowhere. These scorpions are not happy. Turns out, the cactus belonged to them, and they're angry our heroes didn't ask for permission. One of the scorpions starts mocking everything they say and demands payment for the cactus juice. But Phileas? He's not paying a cent. Instead, he distracts them with a magic trick, and the two friends make a run for it, skidding away on the cold sand until they slide down into a sandy valley. The scorpions, thinking it's not worth it, just mock them from the top and ride off. Bopper is celebrating their escape when suddenly they realize they've stepped into quicksand. Just great. They sink fast but manage to land in a patch of hail. Bopper tries to reach for the ancient skull horn, but he can't. They're stuck until day 21 rolls around. By this point, they're just minutes away from certain death, until Bopper gets an idea. He sees Phileas, the lizard, catch a fly with his tongue and tells him to try and grab the skull horn the same way. Phileas tries, again and again until, success. He nabs the horn, pulls them out of the quicksand, and saves the day. But then Phileas starts crying. His skateboard is gone. Bopper comforts him and gives him a hug. Phileas is caught off guard and blurts out that no one's ever hugged him before, because he once pushed Sam. That creeps Bopper out and he starts praying for a quick death, but Phileas just laughs and they keep going. Meanwhile, Felix the policewoman arrives at that same cactus and drinks from it. Yep, you guessed it. The scorpions return. But she's not one to back down. She beats them up with ease, steals their sunglasses, hops on one of the motorbikes, and speeds off into the desert like a total boss. On day 25, Phileas and Bopper reach the bustling city of Rodencio. To avoid being recognized, Phileas plucks a hair from Basper's tail and uses it to disguise himself. They take a quick selfie and head into the city, amazed by everything, especially the food. Shortly after, Felix the policewoman also arrives in Rodencio. She spots a picture and realizes Phileas is wanted. She rushes to a detective and tells him Phileas is in town, and he starts hunting him down. We jump back to Phileas, who's waiting at the train station for Bopper. Bopper shows up, thrilled about all the cool stuff he bought. But just as the train rolls in, Phileas's fake mustache flies off, busted. The detective spots him immediately and signals his men. Phileas bolts, Bopper chases after him, still confused. During the chase, Phileas teases the detectives and slows them down while making his escape. They keep running until they spot the train leaving. With no time to lose, they leap across rooftops, wrap themselves in a rug, and launch into the air. The rug floats like a parachute and drops them near the train. They sprint and just barely manage to board. Phileas helps Bopper on, and they both collapse in relief. Bopper, still confused, asks why the police are chasing them. But Phileas just dodges the question and plops down next to an old lady, hoping to avoid further conversation. As he relaxes, he notices the old woman is reading The Adventures of Joan the Frog. She starts chatting away about the book, and Phileas sees his chance. He sneaks off, leaving Bopper distracted. But surprise! He bumps right into Felix, the policewoman. He quickly vanishes and climbs on top of the train, but finds himself handcuffed. No matter how hard he tries, he can't get free. The train rumbles on toward the jungle. Phileas swears he didn't rob any bank, but Felix isn't buying it. Suddenly, the train jolts on a steep track and both of them tumble. Bopper, who had been chatting with the old lady, sees Phileas in trouble and rushes to help. He grabs an axe, climbs up and throws it. By sheer luck, it hits the handcuffs and breaks them. They waste no time. They jump off the train and land, not in water, but on a giant rock. Bopper soon realizes they're in the Trivian Forest, the place where adventurers supposedly vanish. But Phileas is more interested in taking a photo. He puts the photo in a bottle, seals it, and throws it into the river, explaining that it'll travel through space, time, and finally reach its destination. Sure enough, we cut to a shrimp leader chilling with his mom, and boom, the bottle drops from the sky. Inside is the photo of Passepartout. His mom is overjoyed. Back to the forest. On day 31, Phileas and Bopper are using glow bugs as lamps. Suddenly, a plane crashes nearby, but they just keep walking, more scared of the spooky forest sounds. Then drama hits. Bopper finds out that Phileas ate the map. Furious, he says Phileas will never be a real adventurer. That's when Phileas confesses the truth. He's not an adventurer at all. He ended up on the island by accident and had robbed people in the past. Bopper is done. He's sure Phileas robbed the bank and says he'll hand him over to Felix. Their only light, the glowing bug, escapes, and the two start fighting, biting, rolling, and eventually tumbling down a steep slope. As they lay dazed on giant leaves, they hear drums. They're terrified until they see a snail leader and his army of locusts. They're holding a frog hostage, the same frog that crashed the plane. The snail wants to throw her into a volcano to prevent it from erupting, while the frog mocks him for his logic. Phileas is instantly smitten by the frog's beauty. Before anything else happens, Phileas accidentally falls toward them, and Bopper tries to save him. But Phileas falls down. The snail, thinking the falling Phileas is a sign from the volcano, tells his army to grab him. Phileas takes off running, but the locusts pick up the snail and chase after him, launching flaming arrows. Meanwhile, Bopper rushes to save the lady frog and grabs onto the moving catapult vehicle. Phileas eventually joins them. They all try to free the frog from the ropes. Meanwhile, Felix also comes here to catch Phileas, but she goes towards the snails and crush on them. Now, the vehicle races toward the lava. At the last second, the frog activates the catapult and launches them safely over the lava. They land on the other side. Felix, the snail, and his locust army are left behind. Now safe, they continue their journey with the frog, who finally introduces herself. Her name is Wad. Bopper tells her about their 80 days around the world adventure. Wad is stunned and finally opens up. She reveals she's the princess of Attica and had escaped using a plane she built herself. Now, she needs to return to rebuild the destroyed one. Phileas and Bopper are speechless. Phileas keeps poking fun at Wad for still not believing she's actually a princess, even though she clearly is. They continue their journey and soon find themselves climbing Mount Everest. They actually reach the summit, take pictures like tourists, and send them home to Mama. Days pass, and they explore place after place, enjoying every moment. They're having the time of their lives. Mama starts to feel proud of her son, but deep down she misses him a lot. On day 77, the group is camping inside a cave, gathered around a warm fire. Felix is nearby but accidentally falls into a bird's nest. Later that night, while Bopper is sleeping, Phileas and Wad end up catching a fly at the same time, literally with their tongues. Awkward. They get tangled, freak out, and back off all embarrassed. Bopper just giggles in his sleep.
You saw nothing!
The next morning, Felix realizes she's still stuck in that bird's nest. But just then, a seagull shows up, offers her a fish, and she pretends to be its daughter so she can escape. Day 79. Phileas and the crew finally arrive in Attica, Wad's home city. She says a heartfelt goodbye and walks away, clearly emotional, especially around Phileas. Bopper doesn't waste time. He rushes straight to the Museum of Wand the Frog, totally fanboying over everything. But Phileas shows up angry, reminding him they need to head back before the 80th day is over. Inside the museum, Bopper faints with joy when he comes face to face with the real Wand the Frog. Phileas arrives and starts yelling at Wand, blaming him for abandoning him in favor of his adventures. Wand is thrilled to see his son again, but when he hears Phileas accuse him of being a bad father, he's left speechless. Bopper faints again from the drama. And just when things couldn't get weirder, Felix swoops in riding the same seagull and kidnaps Phileas, flying away with him. Wand and Bopper are stunned. They know they need help fast and rush off to find Wad. Meanwhile, high in the sky, Phileas keeps yelling that he didn't rob the bank. That's when Felix drops a major bombshell. She did it. She disguised herself as a frog, stole the prize money from the bank, and framed Phileas just so she could ruin his bet. She cackles like a maniac, twirling in celebration on the back of the seagull. Phileas is totally stunned. This lady's nuts. Back in Attica, Wad is busy assembling her new plane. Bopper and Wand show up and tell her everything. Wad is shocked to learn that Phileas is Wand's son, but she jumps into action right away. They all pile into her new flying machine, which looks like some giant glowing bug. Wand and Bopper are terrified, but Wad? She's loving every second. Of course, the engine breaks midair, but Wad stays cool and calm, fixing it like it's no big deal before they crash into the sea. Back in the sky, Phileas is stressed. They're almost out of time. It's day 79, and if he doesn't return to the island with Bopper, he loses. That's when Wad's plane suddenly appears beneath them, and she shouts for Phileas to jump. But Felix orders the seagull to dive away. Bad idea. Phileas falls off, and Wand jumps right after her. Wad follows quickly, dodges an attack from the angry seagull, and manages to save them just before hitting the water. Phileas and Wand end up safely inside Wad's plane. There, Wand finally apologizes for not being a good father. Phileas forgives him, and they enjoy the stunning view from above as they soar through the clouds together. Then, surprise! Bopper spots something incredible. It looks like a whole new world down below. Everyone cheers, realizing he's the first ever to discover it. They speed toward the island, and Mama's already waiting, hopeful but worried. The shrimp leader mocks her, saying there's no way they'll make it in time. But everyone's jaws drop when they see a plane flying toward the island. Just as they're about to land, Felix appears. He sends the seagull to attack and crash the plane. The plane shatters midair, and everyone falls into the ocean. The shrimp leader celebrates, thinking he's won. But guess what? Out of nowhere, Bopper appears, skating across the water on the seagull's feathers like a superhero. A huge wave sends everyone flying toward the dock. They land perfectly, just in time. Bopper is reunited with his mom. Everyone erupts in applause, cheering for their epic return. Suddenly, Felix pops out of the water, ready to cause trouble. She tries to accuse Phileas of stealing the money, but he flips the script. He gets her to brag and admit everything in front of everyone. How she stole the money, wore the frog suit, and framed him. Everyone realizes she's totally crazy. So, they stick her on a rock far away from the island, her own little island prison. With the bet won and their names cleared, Phileas and Bopper hold up the prize money. Everyone celebrates. Bopper makes a bold announcement. He discovered a new world and they must explore it. Everyone cheers, dances, and celebrates together. And that's the end of their wild, incredible journey around the world in 80 days. And of course, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and check out our other awesome videos.